Hi everybody, it's Miss Little, and for this week's e-learning day, I decided to do a menu choice board. We're just going to switch up our options just a little bit. So the instructions are pretty straightforward. You're going to complete the item from each section of the menu, and you're going to staple the assignments to the sheet and turn it in Wednesday. So if you came to school Monday, then I've given you a copy that you can follow along with me throughout this lesson. If you were not at school with me Monday, I have everything posted in Class Dojo that you can print off and turn in Wednesday. Now, I know it seems like a lot, but I'm going to break down each section for you, so that way it's easier to follow along or do it yourself. So let's first just read everything on the choice board. So first we have our appetizers. So you know me, I of course want you to read for at least 15 minutes. Then you're going to complete the attached syllable sheet. Now the math main course, you're going to practice your simple division that you learned today. You need to have a drink, so you're going to have your reading refreshments, which is based on what we have learned about the Wild West so far. You're going to use your inferencing skills and background knowledge to design a book cover for a book called The Transcontinental Railroad. I want you to really think about your text features on this one. And then, of course, we have to have a dessert. So you're going to have a social studies Sunday. You're going to read the information on the Transcontinental Railroad to be able to complete the map coloring. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first two assignments we're going to touch on are the syllable sheet and the reading refreshment book cover. So I'm going to use my annotation tool right here so you can follow along with me. So I have the definition of a syllable. So a syllable is a unit of spoken language that forms an entire word or parts of words, with each syllable having its own vowel sound. Now we practiced a lot today with VCCC, words, which are vowel, consonant, 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 vowel. For example, contrast. I'll write that here. Contrast. So as we can see underneath here, we have let's label them. This is a consonant. Then we have a vowel. Then we have a consonant, 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 vowel, consonant, consonant. So we're looking at this pattern right here, the VCCCV words. So this almost makes like a little sandwich. Now, if you stick your hand underneath your chin and say the word with me, contrast, it hits twice, which means we're going to have one syllable divide. So we know already it's going to be two, but where do we put it? So we want to separate these consonants right here. So let's just focus on this area, the entra. So here we have entra, and we need to find out where to put our splice. So let's sound out each letter. N, t, ah. Now, whenever we say the word contrast, though, we don't go t, We say tra. So that symbols to us that we need to put a splice right there between on and tra. So if we add back our letters, contrast. And this helps us be able to decode and sound out words that maybe seem too hard or difficult for us. So here I did an example for you, avocado. If you stick your hand under your chin and say it with me, avocado, your chin hits your hand 4 times, which lets us know it's a 4. So let's see if we can do the next one together. Eyeglass. So let's stick our hand under our chin and say it, eyeglass. So here we know that it hit it twice. So I'm going to put a 2 right here. And now we need to figure out where to put our splice. So whenever we say it, eyeglass, our chin hits our hand whenever we make the G sound. So we know it has to go before the G sound. The G makes the G sound. So it's a really simple indicator to know the splice goes right here. So here you have the second one done for you. You are going to do this all the way down to practice your identification of syllables. Now for the next part, you're going to design a book cover. So we are reading and learning about the Wild West. You're going to create a book cover based on your background knowledge of a book called The Transcontinental Railroad. So I'm going to give you a quick refresher of the Transcontinental Railroad now.
Before there were viral videos and trending hashtags, the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869 was one of the first mass media events in U.S. history. But behind the glitzy headlines of that historic day, there's a darker story to be told. Before 1869, coast to coast travel in America was crazy expensive. It took months, and the journey was fraught with danger, whichever way you went. President Lincoln knew that if the United States was to fulfill its true potential, something needed to be done. So in 1862, he signed the Railroad Pacific Act to connect the east of the U.S. to the west. The Union Pacific Railroad Company began laying tracks in Omaha. The Central Pacific Railroad Company began in Sacramento, and they set out to meet each other in the middle. Up to $48,000 for every mile of track laid was up for grabs. So it was essentially set up as a race. More track, more money. But building the railroad was incredibly dangerous. Workers faced treacherous terrain and brutal working conditions, harsh winters and blistering hot summers. There were frequent clashes with Native American tribes, angered that the track cut through their ancestral lands, destroying forests and decimating the buffalo population. Unable to retain workers, the Central Pacific Railroad hired more than 15,000 Chinese immigrants to finish the job. They worked 12-hour days for low pay, and many crews were tragically lost to avalanches and mishaps with explosives. Despite all this, on May 10, 1869, the presidents of the two railroad companies met in Utah and drove a ceremonial golden spike into the rail line to connect their tracks. The Transcontinental Railroad was hailed as an engineering marvel and ushered in a new age of affordable travel, Western expansion, and economic growth. But the human and environmental cost should not be forgotten. Why do technological advancements bring both positive and negative change?
All right, so hopefully that helps you get kind of some more background knowledge on the Transcontinental Railroad. Now, if you weren't here today, at the very end of this video, I will be going over the lesson that we did today in class to either refresh your memory or introduce you to what you missed. So I definitely recommend checking that out if you're having some struggles and thinking about what to design your book cover with. But of course, we know that a book cover needs to have the title on it. So you need to write the Transcontinental Railroad on the title portion of the book cover or even on the spine. And then I want some imagery that revolves around the struggles or how the Transcontinental Railroad came to be, or even the finished product. So use your text features, use your inferencing skills, and use what you know about a story. Example, characters, setting, a problem, conflict, resolution to create your title or your book cover. I like it to be colorful, engaging, and make it look like a book you'd want to read. We're going to go now into simple division. Now, I know we struggle with this a little bit today, but at the very end, y'all seem to get a hang of it. So here's some extra practice. So I have a first one as your example. You're going to complete the following simple division problems. So we're going to work this out together. Now, you need to remember the 4 steps. You're going to divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down. Now, we've talked about acrostic poems, so we're going to make a similar acrostic poem or rhyme that helps us remember this. So you have DMSB. Think about does McDonald's sell burgers? The D stands for the divide, McDonald's stands for multiply, sell stands for subtract, and burgers stands for bring down. So does McDonald's sell burgers? Divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down. Now let me walk through the example that's already been done for you. So first you're going to look at this number. This is our dividend. This is our divisor, and this is our quotient. So quotient basically just means answer. Your dividend is what you're dividing into, and your divisor is what you're using as your bigger number. So we know that 12 cannot go into 1. It's too small. You can't have 12 people share one thing. Everybody has to have one cookie, for example. So if we have 144 cookies and 12 people, how many cookies does each person get? So let's start with 12 going to 14. We know 12 goes into 14 one time, which is right here. So we have it going into it one time, and then we're going to multiply. So that was our division. 1 times 12 is our multiplier. 1 times 12 is 12. Now we're going to subtract 14 minus 12. 14 minus 12 is 2. Now we need to bring down the next number. So we're going to bring down that 4 to make 24. So now let's divide again. You go right up to the start of the cycle. So you just keep repeating these 4 steps. 12 goes into 24 how many times? 2. 2 times 12 is 24. So 24 minus 24 equals 0. So our quotient or answer is 12. Now let's do this one together. 22 is not going to fit into 4. It's too small of a number, but it can't fit into 46. Now I want you to think, how many times can 22 fit into 46? An easy way to do this is to double it. So 22 doubled is 44. Now, if we know we doubled it again, it would be 66, and that would bust the 46. It's too big. So we need to keep it under this number. 22 goes into 46 2 times, because 2 times 22 is 44. Now we're going to do subtraction. So 46 minus 44 is 2. Now we're going to bring down this number. So we divided, multiplied, subtracted, and brought it down. So now we're going to restart it. How many times does 22 go into 22? It goes into it one time. That was our division. Now 1 times 22 is 22. Now we do our subtraction. 22 minus 22 is 0. Now, since we have nothing left, we know that 21 is our quotient. So let me erase all this. And you are going to do the rest by yourself. Please remember the 4 steps: divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down. Does McDonald's sell burgers? Now you do have 2 pages of division problems to practice. And if we can't get it right, don't worry, we will go over these as a class to make sure that we are ensuring that we are understanding. Next, we have our Social Studies Sunday. Now, this is the Transcontinental Railroad coloring assignment. So here you have a blank map of the United States. You're going to follow the instructions below. You're going to identify each of these points. This is the location of the points, and this is what color I need you to put them. Now, I know what you're thinking. I don't know where Utah is, or where is Promontory Point, or where's the Great Plains and Rocky Mountains? Don't worry, we're going to go over it. On the back of this sheet is a helpful prompt that is going to give you an idea of where these things are and what's the purpose or significance of them. So let me read this aloud to you now. The Transcontinental Railroad was one of the America's most important projects. It connected the East Coast to the West Coast, making it possible to travel across the country in days instead of months. The Union Pacific Railroad started building in Omaha, Nebraska, going west, while the Central Pacific Railroad began in Sacramento, California, heading east. They met in the middle at Promontory Point, Utah, where a golden spike was hammered in to celebrate the railroad's completion. So they started on the East Coast and the West Coast, and they worked their way into the middle, and the last spike they did was a golden one. This connection helped bring people, goods, and ideas across the country faster than ever before. Along the way, the railroad crossed important areas like the Great Plains and the Sierra Nevada mountains. The Great Plains are in the center of the country, and it was home to vast grasslands and was where many Native American tribes lived. When the railroad came through, it changed life for these tribes. As settlers started using the land for farming and towns, in the Sierra Nevada mountains, the railroad builders had to blast through steep, rocky terrain. This part was very challenging, but it was necessary to link California to the rest of the country. Native American territories were also affected as the railroad moved westward. The land where these tribes hunted and lived became a path for settlers moving west and for goods going to new towns. This changed the landscape and the lives of the people who lived there. As more people came and began farming and building towns, the Transcontinental Railroad was important for America's growth, but it also had lasting effects on the people and land in its path. So that gives us some background knowledge and the significance of each point that I want you to identify. I want you to identify the Union Pacific starting point, which was in Omaha, Nebraska, and I want you to mark it blue. I want you to do the Central Pacific starting point, which is in Sacramento, California, and mark it green. The meeting point, the Golden Spike, is in Promontory Point, Utah, and it's going to be yellow because you're going to make a little golden spike. The Great Plains region, which is the central United States spanning Nebraska, Wyoming, etc., I would like you to do purple. Sierra Nevada Mountains, which are in eastern California and Nevada, orange. In the Native American territories, which are the Great Plains and the Rocky Mountains, I would like you to mark red. These are all really important in identifying the importance and the struggles that came into building the Transcontinental Railroad. Here are the regions mapped out for you that can be very helpful. Feel free to pause and color. And here are the states. Now, if you don't know where a certain city is, you can always Google that city and state and it can tell you the exact location. But a rough estimate is also okay. Feel free to pause if needed. And lastly, here's the Transcontinental Railroad. So this shows you the points so you can guesstimate on your map. So this was west and the East Coast, and then the Golden Spike in the middle right there. This little green section right here was added later. We're focusing on the Central Pacific and the Union Pacific. So these are all really helpful images to help you complete your map. And I think that about covered our entire choice board. So if you have any questions, feel free to message me. I do have some helpful hints on here. I have remember an easy way to count syllables is to put your hand under your chin, count how many times your chin hits your hand when you say a word, as well as our 4 steps: divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, or does McDonald's sell burgers? So if you're already in class Monday and you don't need a refresher, feel free to end the video now. But if you weren't in class and you would like a refresher, stay tuned and I will look up what we did today. So we first went over our vocabulary, which is going to be prominent in our reading. We have celestial. So something that is celestial is heavenly. The reflection of the moon on the lake had a celestial appearance. And here are some examples. Complaint. A complaint is an expression of dissatisfaction or pain. The nurse received a complaint because she arrived to work late and couldn't attend to her patients on time. Employed. If you hire people to do a job, you employed them. The servers at my favorite restaurant have been employed there for many years. Sacrifice. A sacrifice is the act of giving up something valued to get something else. Volunteering at the animal shelter was a worthwhile sacrifice of her time. Now let's start and talk about these 4 words. So this is a question about celestial. What type of celestial bodies can you see from Earth? We had a classroom discussion about this, and answers arrived like the moon, the stars, the sun, outer space. What could happen in a restaurant that would cause you to make a complaint? What if there's a hair in your food? What if your order's wrong? What if it's taking too long? Those would make you complain. It's anything that would leave you dissatisfied enough where you need to speak up about it. Where would you like to be employed when you grow up and why? So I want you to think about your personal interests and what you'd want to be when you grow up and why you'd want to be employed by that place. For example, Miss Little is a teacher and she's employed by Pulaski Elementary. So Pulaski Elementary is Miss Little's employer. And lastly, if somebody gave their raincoat to someone else during a rainstorm, would that be a sacrifice? Explain. Yes, it would be a sacrifice because you're giving up your protection from the rain for somebody else to not to be getting wet. You are sacrificing your own comfort for somebody else's. Next, we talked about monitoring and clarifying. This is really important when we read. So you need to ask yourself, do I understand what I just read? Now, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but have you ever gotten lost in a book and you're reading and you're reading and you kind of zone out a little bit and then you read a section and you're like, oh my gosh, how did this happen? Or I don't know what I just read for the last 2 pages. You kind of lose track. You need to go back and make sure you understood what's going on. So if you understand what you just read, yes, keep reading. But if no, you need to do either of these two things. So when you don't understand a word, you need to decode it again, look for context clues, replace it with another word that you do understand, or look it up in a dictionary or glossary. If a section of text is confusing, you make notes about what confuses you, think about what you already know, reread and look for details you might have missed, or look at images and text features to help you out. So let's practice those skills here. The Transcontinental Railroad. From 1863 to 1869, thousands of workers laid more than 1,700 miles of railroad tracks between Omaha, Nebraska, and Sacramento, California. They labored in extreme weather as they blasted through mountains and built bridges. Some Native Americans, angered by the construction on their homelands, attacked the workers. The completed project joined the Union Pacific and the Central Pacific Railroads, creating the first transcontinental railroad system. People could then ship goods and settle the western frontier much more quickly. And here is our caption for the photo. Railroad builders had a tunnel through the rugged Sierra Nevada mountain range in California. So I asked the class, let's first see if there's any words we don't know. Let's monitor and clarify. Do I understand what I just read? What happens if I don't understand a word? One word they did not understand was transcontinental. Perfect example, because this is the main part of what we're learning. Well, let's break it up and see what we do know. So if you look at the word transcontinental, we see a word that we do know, continent. So we know that a continent, there are 7 of them, and the United States of America is all North America. And trans is going across a big area. So we are going across a big area and connecting the continent through a railroad. Also, a section that was misunderstood was some Native Americans, angered by the construction on their homelands, attacked the workers. Some students asked, why would they do that? Well, think about if you lived somewhere and your grandma lived there and their grandma lived there forever. And all of a sudden somebody says, I'm going to build a railroad through your house. You wouldn't be very happy either. In the video that we watched earlier in this lesson, explained that there was a lot of different hardships. There was the attacks by the Native Americans. There was also extreme weather. There was really hot summers. There was really cold winters. And there was this terrain they had to go through. So it was a really difficult journey for thousands of workers going 1,700 miles. I want you to think about this. Let's use our tool and draw. You're building the railroad through this. You're not just laying down one part of the railroad. You are having to break down and all of these trees. And now look, there's a mountain in your way. So now you have to stop everything and you've got to blow up the mountain with dynamite, which was also how a lot of workers got injured because they didn't know what they were doing. And they had to tunnel through mountains. So it was a very long journey. It was a very hard journey. And Native Americans didn't like that they were destroying their house, basically their house and their home and their land. So they would attack some of the workers. And here's that video that we watched earlier that we watched also in class. And then here is a deeper understanding of our syllable division patterns. So we were talking about VCCCV words. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but this is more in depth. So V stands for vowel, A, E, I, O, and U. A C stands for consonant, B, C, D, F, G, H, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, V, W, X, Y, and Z. So if it's not a vowel, it's a consonant. And we know something about our vowels. Our vowels change. They have a long sound and a short sound. We know they make the long sound A, E, I, O, U. For example, you have A in cake, E in, what was our example we used? Elated, I for ice cream, O for obey, and U for unicorn. They also make a short sound. They make the A, I, O, U. So A in cat, E in egg, E in ice, or I in ice cream, or not ice cream, igloo. My apologies. An octopus, and an umbrella. So our vowels change, our consonants do not. Let's look at the word contract again. Remember, each syllable in a word has a vowel sound. Let's identify. We have our consonant, vowel, consonant, 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 vowel, consonant, consonant. So do we notice the V, C, 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 V, or vowel, consonant, 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 vowel pattern? It's right here in the middle. Now, two of the three middle consonants are a pair, either as a consonant blend or a digraph. The syllables in a V, C, 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 V word divide between the consonants, but never divide in the middle of the consonant pair, only before or after it. What this essentially means is when sounds are put together with other letters, you cannot break up that sound. We already identified that the T and the R make the tr sound. You wouldn't put the N and the T together because they make the nt, and then this would be ra. It's not contract, it's contract. So the consonant blend in this word is tra. Read the tra blend out loud. Contract. Sound out the first syllable, followed by the second syllable, and then blend the syllables to read the whole word. Here are some more examples. Substance. St is our consonant pair. Sickness. Sk, k, k. Right there is our consonant blend. Explain. Pla, pla, pla is our consonant blend. We also have the rabbit rule. Now, I know, this sounds a little kiddie. We're just going to listen to a little bit of it. It's really catchy and it helps break it down a little bit.
Rabbit room. Pop up town, choose a rabbit room. Two consonants. Stand between two vowels. Divide the syllables between the consonants. All right, everybody, hop up and down to syllables in the rabbit roll words. Rabbit, rabbit, wombat, wombat, laptop, laptop, traffic, traffic.
Okay, we get the point. It's just to show you the rabbit rule is when you have vowels surrounding the consonants that make a sound. We also blend and read with V, C, 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 V syllable division patterns. So these have three consonants in the middle. Two of the three consonants work together as a consonant blend or as a digraph. Monster, employ, extract, portrait, purchase. Here we have the sta and monster, pla and employ, Tra and extract, tra and portrait, and ch and purchase. See if you can identify the rest of them. We did this together as a class. Here are the answers. And here's some more. So you can read each boldface spelling word followed by the sentence and then repeat the word. We each took a course in settling conflict peacefully. The family decided to adopt an orphan. Please be patient, I can't get to it that instant. These are our spelling words, and these are them in a division pattern and dictation sentence format. We will be seeing these words throughout our readings. They will not be tested. Then we did Know It Show at page 79. If you were absent today, I do have it ready for you to complete when you come back. And lastly, we focused on some reading fluency. So we practiced reading out loud with inflection. So if I read something like this, in the American imagination, the landscape of the Old West is dotted with men riding on horseback, such as cowboys, merchants, outlaws, and sheriffs. That's really boring. And there's no differentiation of our tone. So we practice using our voices to be able to convey a more interesting way of reading out loud that's engaging. So the best way to do is to stand up straight. You can put your hands on top of where your belly button is, and you can even put your other hand on your throat so you can feel the vibrations whenever you say the words out loud. And you want to jazz it up a little bit. So it may sound silly doing it by yourself. When we practice reading out loud to a partner, it's easier to do. Let me do the first sentence for you. In the American imagination, the landscape of the Old West is dotted with men riding on horseback, such as cowboys, merchants, outlaws, and sheriffs. You go up and down with your voice to be able to create emphasis on certain syllables or parts of the words that are interesting. I wouldn't do it to the landscape because then it sounds like the landscape is the focus, when it's really the different aspects of the Old West, like the cowboys, merchants, outlaws, and sheriffs. Now remember, it's very important to enunciate. So feel free to pause and practice reading this out loud using some fluency and little pizzazz. All right, that is all I have for you today. I really hope this helps complete your choice board. I know y'all are going to do amazing, and we will go over everything Wednesday. So do not worry if either your division you're struggling with or you can't get the right syllables. We're going to get there. It's going to be great. Stay safe, and I hope to see you all Wednesday morning.